if you're at a point in your life where you are 19 and or 18 and you say, all right, you want to get married, and you have your own reasons as to why you want to get married, and I don't think that there should be any issue with you wanting to get married because you are so-called too young, right? Um, is there a right or wrong reasons to get married? I believe that there are some wrong reasons to get married, but at the same time, persons get married because of different reasons. The reason that I got married may not be the reason why you got married and stuff like that. So the reasons varies based on what persons experience in their life, what are their goals, what are their aims, what is it that they want for themselves. So I don't believe that there is a set age to get married, but I also believe that there are wrong and right reasons, but there are also different reasons why people get married. That's my take for now.
Okay, thank you so much, Stacy. And we are going to move over to Shanika.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So before I answer those questions, I would want to say that for me, and this is my opinion, and this is what I have used over the years to as a guide. Marriage is a team sport. It's a game that you decide to play every day. So it's a hard game, and some days you really don't want to play. But if you continue to remind yourself that it's a team sport, and if I stop playing, I'm affecting my team members. That serves as a motivation to continue to play. So it's a sport that you will want, it is a sport that you will want to play regardless because you're representing your team. No. In Jamaica, we play the famous game Stocky, or whichever game you want to use to help you to visualize or understand what I'm saying. When you're picking your team, if the person could just mute their mic, if because it's giving the feedback. Okay, when you're choosing your teammates, if it's a running sport, you choose the fastest person. If it's something to do with strength, you want to pick the strongest person. So you're trying to pick the best person for your team. And I think that is the same thing for marriage. You try to choose the best person to put on your team because you're in this thing to win it. No. Is there a right time to marry? My answer is when you find this person. When you find this person with all the qualities that you need for your team. Sure. Is there a right age? Not really, but there are checklists that you need to. There are things on the checklist that you need to check off. Everybody wants a great partner, but are you a great partner? Are you ready for this thing spiritually, mentally, and all the others? There is no set age that determines, when you're going to be mature, when you're going to be ready. But you should be at an age where you should be able to bring something to the table. You should be at that place where you would have been friends with this person for a while. You should be at that place where you're a strong person and you're okay with finding another strong person. And as a woman, I'm talking for females right now. Everybody wants this rich guy. Are you a rich woman? So as you choose your partner or your teammate for your team, just make sure that you're at that place. And when you check off all these off your checklist, then you should be ready. So for me, there is no wrong or right time, and there is no wrong or right reason. Because whatever reason it is, it was right at some point, right? So that's my take.
Okay, thank you very much, Shanika. And we are going to move over to Reverend Godfrey Francis.
Okay, thank you very much. Uh, right age to get married, right reason or wrong reason. Right age, it's hard to determine right age. Um, in some cultures, well, throughout history, marriage has happened at various ages. I see an average of um, 13, but in some cases younger. Um, in our context, where a person can legally get married without parents' consent at the age of 18 and above. Um, in some cultures and religions, people are still marrying at very young ages, something that many in our day and in our context would frown upon. But primarily, it's hard to say, you know, what is a right age to get married. I did some checks and I see that what those who do the studies are suggesting is that between 28 and 32 years old is somewhat of an ideal time for persons to get married. The woman at 28 thereabout, the male at 32 thereabout. For some of the reasons that were mentioned a while ago by Shanika. You know, you do your checklist, and given our context where people tend to now um, make sure that they are qualified and academically and otherwise and able to listen, then you find that it turns out to be around that kind of age range. Um, but the question really is not so much right age to get married as much as it's a question as the right time to get married. And my simple answer to that would be when two people can truly say to each other, I love you. And to say I love you um, best comes when one, the foundation of the relationship is strong and healthy. The way people start a relationship and the circumstances under which people start relationships usually point you in a direction as to what how that relationship is likely to unfold. So foundation is important. When the relationship has support by significant others, parents, well-wishers, friends, then that is also a good indicator that this is a kind of relationship that shows promise. I use the word fellowship to describe that. So foundation is important, fellowship, the kind of support, friendship. When two people are relating, are you are they really friends, true friends? And what is the quality of that friendship? Because we know that there are many people who call one another friends. Sometimes and many times they say they are best friends, but they are the ones who destroy each other. So is their genuine quality friendship. And then um, fun. What do you do for fun? Some relationships from the word go is no fun. Pure quarrel and fuss and fight. But they still press on. Uh, they're not enjoying what they are sharing, and yet they want to get married. The other thing that is important is future. When we look at the future, are our future plans and goals moving in opposite directions? Are they on a collision course? Or can our future be intertwined so that we move forward as one? So foundation, fellowship, friendship, fun, future. When all of these are healthy and solid and strong, then people can truly say, I love you. And that, I think, is the good time for persons to say we can now marry each other. My little word of advice, and I lived it in my own experience, is to have a wide circle of friends, as wide as possible, a circle of friends in the opposite sex, without rushing into relationship. Having a wide circle of friends so that you can get to know yourself, so you can get to know others, so you can get to know um, who you can live with and who can live with you before you then narrow your choices and settle down. So that's my approach to the question. Uh, what age should one get married? Do people marry for wrong reasons, or can there be wrong reasons for marriage and right reasons for marriage? I would think there are some wrong reasons why people get married. And I did some little research today, not much, and I came across um, an article that talks about three wrong reasons for marriage and four right reasons. And it harmonizes with my own thoughts and understanding. Um, so the wrong reasons that they give is that if one marries to solve relationship problems, that's not a good reason for marriage. That's a wrong reason for marriage. You don't do well with relationship, or you're having relationship problems, so you marry each other thinking that that will solve it. That's a wrong reason. Fear of loneliness is a second reason. And then to prove something is a third reason that they give us wrong reasons for getting married. Um, what I would consider wrong reasons are marrying to escape whatever situation it is. Some people want to run away from home, escape that situation, and so they run into somebody's arms, get married. Marrying for convenience, marrying to legalize sex. A lot of Christians fall into that trap before they have a solid relationship. They
Say
get
that one
married.
again, Pastor. Say that one again in Jesus' name.
Marrying to legalize sex, you know. And some people marry just to have children. After the children have come, the relationship takes a downturn because there wasn't any particular interest or sufficient interest in the individual. People marry for material security and benefits. People marry for status. You know, I marry you because of your profession. I marry you because of where you live. I marry you because of your family name, you know, status. And people marry sometimes in order to please um, others, parents, friends, whoever.
Pastor and the pastor.
And the part, thank you. That also happens. A lot of pastors are guilty of, of
Because they
forcing
want to lead praise
relationships.
and worship.
Mhm. So thanks for that. So those are some wrong reasons. But what are the right reasons to marry? Ultimately, it has got to be love and to honor God. When I meet with a couple, I would ask them first, why do you want to marry each other? And sometimes when I get a lovely, long, detailed answer, I still have to turn to the individual and ask, but do you love the person? Do you love your partner? Well, yes, I love him. Yeah, I love her. But that never came up front, you know. But it has to begin with love. And love is not the emotional, um, nice butterfly in the chest thing that often we understand love to be. But that solid commitment, you know, where one is going to be offering their best unconditionally, making the sacrifices that are required. And in that process, it is undergirded by a determination to honor God who ordained marriage. And when God ordained marriage, he intended companionship, partnership, fellowship, and courtship. Courtship is last because courtship must last. It's not that courtship ends after the wedding. When the wedding ends, that's really when courtship ought to begin. Hence, the man leaves mother and father and cleaves to his wife. Now let go, hanging on, now let go. And the two becomes one flesh. So companionship, partnership, fellowship, courtship. When you read the Genesis account, you will understand why I talk like that. And so it's a matter of honoring God. It's not what we think or what we feel. It's what God intended that must guide us. And in the process, we honor God. And so the guiding principle for any married couple has got to be submit yourself one to another in the fear of the Lord. Your reverence for God will make you first honor God, seek to honor God. So you submit to God, and then it's easy to give and take with each other. All right, so those are my words at this time. I could say more as you seek to draw more from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We want you to know that you can ask your questions. We're gonna have that in a while. But there are some points that came out of or panelists, and rushing into one of them is rushing into marriage because of various reasons. And I don't know for you, but I've seen it where persons would say that they see, especially this generation, not spending enough time to know the individual. But because it's a microwave kind of a thing now, so you see people meeting each other, and by no time they are gonna get married, or they're getting married, and then no time after that you realize that, wow, they're not together anymore. So that is one of the, I don't know if anybody wants to say anything on that.
For me, Samantha, I believe, well, I've seen it. For some persons, it works. Maybe for the majority, it doesn't work. But then for some persons, it's actually when you go headway in the situation, then you realize what you have collided with. And then you have some persons who will stand firmly in it, and they will do what they need to do to make it right. And then there are some persons who just back out of it. So some of the time, persons go into the situation not knowing what to expect. They're probably getting married because, boy, they're lonely, or they feel like they should get married, or whatever reason they get married for. And then it's when they're in the situation, they really see what they're dealing with. And then they just stand firm and deal with the situation and just work with it and follow the guidelines or the guidelines of the Bible where marriage is concerned. And they make it work for them. While there are some persons who just back out of it. So it's kind of a two-way streak for me where that is concerned.
Interesting. Anybody else want to?
I think overall it's also a mindset thing, because if you are a winner, somebody who wants to win and win at whatever you do, you will work hard at it. As she said, if you're in a relationship and if it is at all possible to work on it, you will. But when it becomes toxic, abusive, then you can no longer do it. But for those people who are rushing in and they didn't take time to know this person, they're looking at the Facebook and the Instagram relationship hashtag goals. And they want the nice pictures and the nice wedding. They don't know that that come after a long, hard battle. You understand? It's something, as I said before, it's a team sport. And some days I really don't want to play it. You do not want to play it. But I tell myself, I am a Hemmings and I'm going to win at this. You're upset with me. I'm upset with you. Go sleep. I'll go sleep. We're going to fix this. Divorce is the very last thing you think of. And you know why I can say that? Because he's my friend. We're friends.
Friendship, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And friendship is what will get you through the rough times. And listen to me good. If you hear in a few years that we are no longer together, I never told you that this is perfect. I am trying. But as I said, if it ever gets abusive or toxic, that's when you leave. But my advice is to everybody is to work on yourself. Always plan on bringing something to the table. If you bring something to the table, you don't always have to eat what is provided, you know. You don't always have to eat what is provided. And I tell myself all the time that, listen, men will continue to be men, but I pride myself on having my own. And there are certain things that I decide to do before I got married. And I also pride myself, and I tell my little sisters and all the young girls I talk to, get something for yourself. Bring something to the table. Be prepared for this. This is one of those games that you will be playing, one of those races that you'll be running, and you're in the middle of it, you feel like you don't want to do it anymore. You just want to stop. And for me, my problem with people running into this is that they're blinded by hormones. They have not yet made significant life changes or decisions and have taken responsibility for them. So you really don't know what you're able to handle. Are you really going to throw yourself out there? You can't swim, but you're going to jump off and try it? You take some time, learn about yourself, build yourself financially, and then be ready to choose a partner, and also be ready to be a partner that somebody wants to choose.
Exactly.
That's my take.
Yeah.
Yeah, that takes me back to what I said earlier, that in my own experience, and I emphasize it for young people on a whole, but young people in particular, don't rush into relationship, but have as wide a circle of friends of the opposite sex as possible, so that that self-disclosure, that self-knowledge, that self-understanding, and understanding of life and of others can put you at that place to make wise, healthy choices. The truth about marriages is that no marriage is perfect, and the best of us come into marriage with some kind of issue, some kind of baggage. And therefore, every marriage needs some help along the way. No man is an island, no man stands alone is a song that some of us grow up singing. And it really speaks truth. We need one another. So our issues as a couple is not just our issues, but there are always those persons who God has in place who can help us to clarify issues and to really rise above the challenges and get the thing going the way God intended for it to go. But one thing for sure is that just like how we study so that we can become professionals or competent in one area or another, so we have to study. We have to study to make a success of relationships, and in particular, to make a success of marriage, especially if our aim is to honor and to glorify God. Huh? So when I talk from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, I say to people that love is patient and kind. Love is patient because it understands that none of us is perfect. But love is kind because it understands that God has called us into a partnership with Him to bring out the best in each other. So when we are tempted to be unkind, actually we are undermining and devaluing and destroying the partnership that we have with God. It's not just about us and between us. It is between us and God. And we and God are partners to bring out the best in others. That's why we can love our enemies and bless them that curse us and do good to them that hurt us. For it's us and God in partnership to bring out the best in others. So people will run in blindly, running for the wrong reasons. But many of those relationships that began like that turn out to be model relationships for some of us. Some of us who think we had it all worked out and think we have made all the right steps and everything. Sometimes those are the relationships that become the model and the inspiration for us. So, we are not alone, and there's always help available.
I want to add something to what you're saying, Rev. I agree with all that. What's her name? Shanika?
Yeah,
Shanika,
I'll
am
tell
I
you her
correct?
name. Shanika, right?
Shanika, and Reverend Francis. I want to say, however, sometimes some of these relationships, some of these marriages, right? Because I have a lot of young friends around me, a lot of young people who are married and stuff like that. And I mean, some of the times when you hear them talk, they will say, they got married for this reason or, for one or the other. And then
Right.
sometimes, even myself, I'm going to use myself as an example. When I told myself, boy, I want to get married, because I've always seen myself as a married woman, a
Right.
couple with my husband, a couple who is an example to other young persons to say, all
Right.
right, young people can be married, serve God, and just be an example to other persons. That was one of my main goals for getting married, right? I have other reasons why I got married. But then when my husband, we got married and we really look on the reality, because to be honest, the reality is different when you get married.
Of course.
And whether
See me
or
and
not
come
you
live with
want to
me.
go high or low, it is looking different when I get married, because then you have to be more responsible. You have to take in consideration a lot of different things that when you were just probably courting or by yourself and you say, so I don't care about certain things. But when I get married, the reality is my husband and I, we sat and we spoke about things and we said, all right, we started out when we had nothing, because when we got married, my husband wasn't even out of college.
Yeah.
And I had just graduated from Sam Sharp, right? So basically, there was nothing much then brought to the table. There was nothing there. But
Stacy, so are you saying that you wanted to just legalize the sex?
no, I'm not saying that.
Ah, she said
I'm
something.
not. No, I am not saying that. I'm just saying.
A role
Um.
model. You did say it earlier.
Yes.
You can't tell me that you got married so you can show others how to be married. You can't tell me that, Stacy. You got
Pardon
married to
me?
show others. So are you saying that you gave yourself as a living sacrifice to get married to show others how to do it? Come on,
No,
Stacy.
it's not a matter of that. As I said before,
Sacrifice.
Shanika, don't. As I said before, I've always seen myself being married. I'm not see
Right?
myself single. And nothing is wrong with that. That's how I see myself. I see myself married. I want to have my family. I want to have a good relationship with my husband. My husband is my best friend, right? I want to have a good relationship with my husband, and I want to be an example to other young persons. I don't see anything at all wrong with that. That's
No one.
my
It's quite all right.
basically, right? All right. So now I'm looking at it and I'm saying, before we got married, things were different in a sense to say, it was just about yourself. But when I get married, you actually I say, whoa, we're in this together now, so I can't think about myself all the while, just like that. Right? And then we sat down and we said, all right, then we work together as a team. Whenever we are planning something, we have to plan together. When we are making a decision, we have to make the decision together. Because then, as you said before, it's a team thing, right? And then team, you don't work by yourself in a team, you work together, right? So some of the times when we decide and we say, all right, we want to get married, some of the time we really don't know what we are going to face until we are actually in the situation, right? When I got married to my husband, I knew my husband from 2014 and we got married 2019, right? When we got married, there were two different cultures coming
Exactly.
together in one house,
That's it.
right? Something you're not going to know until you actually enter through the door. That's my opinion and my experience. It's different for
Right.
everybody else. Because a lot of persons usually say, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do this and I have to do that. But in reality, yes, you would want to take the necessary precautions, but not because it doesn't go that way means that it might fail or it will fail, right? It can work just the same, just as the persons who prepare to the T, and some of the persons who prepare to the T still don't get it right. You understand? So at the end of the day, it goes back to your, as Samantha said in the beginning, your personal views, your how you feel. Do you feel like you are ready? Do you want to do this without having certain money in your bank account? Do you want to do this because of that reason or because of that reason? It is up to you at the end of the day. But if it's something that you really desire, then you will do what is necessary to make it work. That's my opinion.
All right,
Well,
we want to get, I think Sharama had her hand up. No? Okay. All right, go ahead. We don't want to seem like they are not involved, so we want to get the other persons involved. So feel free to indicate if you want to say something, okay? All right, go ahead.
oh,
You, Rev. You were
oh.
gonna say something.
Uh,
Yeah.
the thought, let me see if I can recapture it.
Oh,
Well, primarily, one of the things about marriage is that you 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 need to be clear in terms of exactly why you're getting married. I talked about foundation of relationship, how it starts. That's a very important indicator as to how the thing is likely to end. But your reason for you to getting married, for you to get married, is of crucial importance. But um, just to you know add to what Stacy was saying, one part of why it's challenging is that not only just two cultures and two worlds and two different set of experiences and the list goes on coming together, but it's funny that when you are in each other's presence 24/7, you can easily become tired of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So even now, because people are now more at home because of the COVID, what we find more an increase in domestic issues, domestic violence, if I may even say it that way, because people just can't handle being around their loved one for very long in some cases. But when I prepare couples for marriage, I am careful to say to them, I seek to give you all the help, all the information, all the preparation that I can give, but it doesn't guarantee the success of your marriage. What this serves to do is to head off as many surprises as possible so that you can, go forward without having to deal with those surprises. But it doesn't guarantee, and a lot of the marriages, well, not a lot, but a few of the marriages I do, after all of that counseling, they just did some crazy stuff, and some of them have fallen apart. Others, they have managed to get past the challenges and are doing well. But all, despite whatever preparation you make, it's like going. Well, I say to people when they get married, you just entered university. It's a brand new school of learning
Rev,
already.
Yes.
Rev, somebody in the comment section said that marriage is like going to college and then going
Yep,
to get
yep.
a job.
Oh, I saw the college word there, but I didn't get to read it fully. Yes, it's like entering into university. I just say to people when they get married, welcome to university, or you just entered university. But it's a beautiful learning process. Somebody, a man wrote a book, to one to his daughter and one to his son. I think it's in the one to his daughter. He suggested that she and her partner go to a particular bridge and stand there and look. And he said, you'll notice that in the vicinity of the bridge, it is two rivers that meet. And he said, notice where they meet, how they crash into each other as if each wants to eliminate the other. And you see the foaming and the froth and all of that. But he says, look further downstream. The two blend together and are just flowing smoothly as one. So there's no escaping the adjustment period. But the principle that guides you, the objectives and the aims of getting married are crucial. And of course, the help and support that you either seek or accept is of tremendous value because none of us can make it on our own.
Stacey, you have your hand up.
Yes.
Go
Good
ahead.
evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm enjoying the discussion. I just want to share that listening, I am learning, but I want to agree that marriage is a good thing. It's honorable, and it makes you
And the bed
better.
on the fire.
Yes, the bed is on the file, and it makes you better. So I have been married for 18 years now, and it has been 18 years.
18, okay.
Yes, and it has been a learning experience. So is there a right time? I don't think there is. The other thing was, is there a right age? It depends on where you are culturally. And is there a right reason? That is determined by the persons who are getting married. But it's very important that we consider, yes, the age, the time, and the reasons why we are getting married. And I think Stacy and Shanika, as well as Rev, have touched a lot of stuff that is so important. And I just want to add to the fact that, for example, myself, before I got married, my expectation of marriage was sort of guided by what I see on TV. You know how Hollywood portray marriage and relationships to be. You know the whole thing. The prince came, right, in his nice shining armor on the horse and whisk you off to happily ever after. But marriage is nothing like that. It's not a whisk off to happily ever after. Pastor Toussaint, a very important man in my life, formative years as a Christian, always say, after the wedding comes the marriage, and the marriage is where the real work starts.
Yes.
So it's very important that we pay attention to ourselves. For example, what am I taking to this relationship? And the ladies talk about that too. What individual am I? What are my gifts? What are my talents? What are the baggages that I have that have not been resolved? What is it that I know about my husband? So it's very important that we pay attention to the expectations that we have. And another thing, it's a journey, and the journey every journey they say starts with a step. And one important step that we can take is to know ourselves. If I know that if we know ourselves very well, meaning that you ask ourselves certain questions. Would I want to live with myself? That's a very important question we need to ask ourselves. Would you want to live with you?
I love that.
Are you good company to others? Are you a good friend? How much do you love yourself? Do you take the time to care for yourself? Because if you do not do these things for yourself, how is it that you're going to do it for this person? And marriage, I realize in all these years that it's a ministry. A woman needs to understand that marriage, as well as the man, it's a ministry. You're ministering to your partner, your friend, your companion, right? And as well as how you're ministering to each other, in one unit, you're also ministering to the Lord, and other people are actually watching what you are doing. So it is not anything light. Yeah. So it's very important that we pay attention to these things. And yes, I hear, I don't remember if it is Shanika or Stacy talks about how important the two worlds coming together. That is also another very important thing. Two worlds coming together. You know what can happen when two different worlds come together? It's a bang. It's a clash. If you don't know how to deal with that, it can be a problem as well. But with patience, with love, with admonition, with God in the middle, you are able to do it. Back to you, Samantha.
Yes, and as you mentioned that it is true. I've always said it for myself. I'm married for 8 years and got married very young. And but we were friends. We were friends from teenage years. So persons will say, "Oh, we know that you guys would get married because you were always together." But the challenge that I was faced with is that persons. There's a scripture that says, "So a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." So even though we have in certain settings, even though we're saying that persons should take time to know each other, in certain settings, we have persons who, when they see people taking time to know each other, they have something else to say. Persons don't believe that persons can take time to know each other without being sexual. Once they see persons coming together, all the stories start that they are having sexual relationship, and it is just what's the word? It is awful.
Mm-hmm.
So I was faced with that too. And even to the point when I was getting married, there were some persons that in my mind I really didn't want at my wedding because of how they did me as a young person
Yes.
and all of that. But as coming and I've always understood that coming together, both of us were young and we're coming from two different socialization, two different backgrounds. And another thing is that I believe that person should get adequate it's not you want to get some premarital counseling going into your marriage, because it doesn't matter how mature you are and how much you know and how much you are ready. I think getting somebody, a third person who especially now when knowledge is power, when you are knowledgeable, because it was when I was almost, I think we're already planning our wedding. We were about a week or a month away from getting married. I realized that my husband was very stubborn,
Mm-hmm.
extremely stubborn, and that was the time that I found out. And I was like, blow down, like, seriously? Oh my God. No, in my mind, this is something that I had to choose whether or not I'm going to deal with. Because me, I said, oh my God, being stubborn. And I remember I had to get a third person to talk to him at that time because he was being stubborn. He did not want to see what I was saying. And I wanted him to understand. So I'm saying that we want to get persons who have some knowledge and thing to have some sessions and thing with us. And even in my setting, in church setting, a lot of times people get married from two different backgrounds and they don't know nothing at all.
That's so
And
true.
And people, what the church sometimes does, they just simply look at the young people and say, oh, they make a perfect match. They're gonna be all right.
yes,
Without really availing themselves to just ensure that they are as prepared as possible. Yeah,
May I add to that too? Sorry about that. The battery from the other device died.
that's all right.
okay.
See you.
To be persons from the church, the older folks, the married folks need to be more realistic with the young people and stop
Oh yeah,
painting
and
them a
honest,
picture
not
that
just
isn't
realistic, but
true.
honest.
Right, right.
I have a question.
Okay.
All right, so apparently I'm the rebel in this group, but I'll ask. Pastor and Sammy
No
and
man, not a
Stacy,
rebel.
the Christian.
The spice. Come on with the spice now.
So I have noticed a trend, and tell me if I'm wrong. The church, I think, some churches, not everybody,
Who
are
is it?
taking these young people and just putting them together as a mean to avoid the illegal sex. And I don't know why the church feel like sex is the only sin, fornication is the only sin there is. And Pastor, you tell me if I'm wrong, a friend of mine, we were talking the other day and I say, you know what, sometimes, even as a Christian, I will think this. It's easier for you to go do the deed and pray to God and ask for forgiveness more than take up somebody's sin.
More than what?
Some of the crosses that comes with the marriage that you were not prepared for. I
Well,
think
I'm
it's
sorry.
between you and God. It's wrong. I know it's wrong, but you do what you have to do. Pray for forgiveness. You move on. Let the one without the sin cast the first stone. But for you to be married and tied into this thing for years, I was reading the other day about the process in Jamaica to get a divorce. I don't have a problem with my husband. I love him to pieces. But when I look at the process to be divorced, I say, Lord, have mercy. What did I get myself into?
I like that.
It's
Well,
easier to get married,
okay.
eh?
So I think that the church needs to provide some form of counseling. And it's not just counseling, it needs to be a thing where young men, young ladies understand that, listen, love is there, it's not going anywhere. Take some time to work on yourself, build you. I had an experience where this young man, he was an older person, married, and he said to me, you know, so you soon stop hot all of them high heel shoes and something the way I wear. Wait until you're married. I say, no, honey, this is not going to stop. You know why? I'm not doing this for anybody. I'm doing this for me. So when you start doing something for yourself, get something for yourself, your degree will never get up and be upset and leave you. Your business that you build for yourself will never get upset and leave you. You might lose customers, you might lose, but your skill, your whatever you have, it's not going anywhere. And I don't know why the church is pushing that marriage is an escape. It's a savior.
I don't know. Well, I will appreciate that there are many churches in which they treat marriage like that. But that is not really the Christian understanding of marriage or approach to marriage. But you have false prophets and false teachers, and all of those that complicates things, which is really unfortunate. We just have to keep crying out for that right approach to be taken by the people of God, who ought to really guide and help people along the way to get it right, to the glory of God. Because this is really the important thing, that it is God who ordained marriage. However we feel and whatever we may think and however we may approach it, it is God who ordained marriage, and he ordained it for his glory. When the frustration comes, there may be the temptation to make a move and say, all right, God, I'm going to make this move, and when I'm done, I want you to forgive me. The trouble with that.
Just sin, I know, Pastor.
The trouble with that is that even when God forgives you, or forgive the person who uses that approach, how much are they able to forgive themselves? So it comes
I can answer that question just a second.
Heavy price.
I feel like I'm not speaking from personal experience, but I watch and I learn a lot, and I don't need to experience it to know that it's. I'm looking at. I can think of a person right now, and I know that it would be easier for her to just do it and say, God forgive me, because I swear she wouldn't beat up herself the 10 years where she had beat up herself right now through that relationship.
Beat up herself through the relationship. Oh, but she's not being abused. I hope she's not.
Physically, mentally, every alley.
She's being abused.
But you know what? Because the church, organized it so neatly, and had a little thing in the churchyard, and the sisters put together and give a little cake, and everything was ready, and a nice little hand-me-down dress. Yes, man, it was perfect. I know she's the one going through all of this with nobody to support her from the church, nobody to guide this person. So they were so young, they didn't take the time to say, okay, let me set myself. And I will forever be an advocate for working on yourself before you jump into this thing.
We are all in agreement on that. That's the only sensible approach. Yes, that's the only sensible approach. So we all have to agree on that.
So, Pastor, let's be practical now. I come to you, me and my person, to get married. You suspect from the outset that this is all hormonal. These two, but we come to you, we want some counseling. How would you approach the situation? You see that this is a recipe for disaster. You know exactly what's going on. How would you counsel us? What would you tell us exactly to help us understand that, listen, this is not the way, but that is the way?
the program of counseling that I use would serve to explore, you know, all of the issues that relate to marriage, and as much as I know them, and pull to the fore the really what it is that these two people have in common. Now, a difficulty with counseling is that I say to people, I can only work with what you give me to work with. You have to be willing to lay the cards on the table. I can only work with what you give me to work with. And some of the marriages that didn't work out after I have, prepared them and married them, is that somehow I guess they so well were married that they didn't trust me to share with me their realities, their stories. You see? And so what they hide from me, turn around and all people that say juke them. You see? So there needs to be honesty. And if people are honest and open to learning, then they can get past their mistakes and their misunderstandings. Huh? So I tell people there are three kinds of marriages. There's a marriage with the back door, there's a grin and bear it marriage, and there's a successful marriage. And so you gotta choose which one you want. Now, usually the successful marriage is chosen. The marriage is the back door, is the one in which people are going in nice and making a big show going through the front door. But they have a little back door on the side, which is the escape route that they're ready to run out, at the drop of a hat. That usually ends in divorce. The grin and beard marriage is a marriage in which the issues are there and people just simply smile and nod and put the best outside and tell everybody, oh, well, we're fine. We're managing, we have little problem. What is all right? We'll get. No, the issues need to be dealt with. The successful marriage has all the problems, all the issues, all the challenges, all the difficulties that the other two marriages have. What's the difference? Each issue is dealt with, gotten rid of, and when the next issue comes, it is treated the same way. Huh? But again, people need to study. And what is one of the sad things about what goes on in our churches is that a lot of people just figure that as long as we pray, everything will be all right. What I learned about prayer is that we must pray as if everything depends on God, and then we must work as if everything depends on us. Because when we pray, God gives us directions and instructions. If we listen to God, do we follow His directions and His instructions? Huh? So the wife who is suffering might not read her Bible to learn how God would have her to operate as a wife, even to an worthless husband. Because I think it's hard to say a man will abuse a woman is worthless. But the wise woman under God, using godly wisdom, can really, really bring him to his senses. I tell women, all of you have a Delilah in you.
I cannot say if we say all men have a Samson in them. What go on?
I was waiting for a response. Right. The beautiful thing about Delilah, which you need to know, is that for this woman to take the strongest man in the world and wrap her around her little finger, It's an amazing thing. That's a power. Hey, man, we climb a tree for you know.
Yeah.
But,
Surely not climb none for me.
but
You did not provide the marker tree.
you got to get some things right. You see, a lot of women go into relationship, and I think I wrote down some things earlier. Relationship patterns. Eh? So you have people going into relationship as child and regarding their partner as parent. And maybe a two children are look parents too. So you're going to get you see. And some go into relationship, they can't relate to their equals. They want somebody to parent. So a lot of marriages are parent-child thing. A lot of marriages are brother and sister. That's the kind of thing they're looking for. They're not prepared. When I read Proverbs 31, I ask myself, what on earth does the man do if the woman do so much?
Rev, I have a question, Rev.
But many of the women who are touted in our churches, oh, she's like the woman in Proverbs, the virtuous woman. She needs to wake up and be what they're saying because she's far from that. You see, so the woman who is guided by the scriptures can turn the worthless man around and make him become a saint for God. The scripture tells you that. Her conversation wins him over to God.
The Bible said these dry bones can live, but me think that one day they don't bury.
Eh? Well, I don't know how much help. I don't know how much help they got, and all of that, and the fact that they are still together for how many years now?
10 years. 10 years.
About 10 something. Boy, seem like 20, but
yeah, man. Well, that 10 look like 20 years. It means that little life in the dry bones. If they get the right help.
I think one of the reasons though is pride, and that's a thing for everybody. You know, if we just put pride aside, because if you put pride aside and seek the help that you need, I think it would have been resolved.
Yeah, man. There are so many, there are some men who, when they hear about counseling, oh, man, I go around counseling. Well, person can tell me, person have a problem like me too. Him need help with field marriage. You know, no person tell me nothing. But after the first session, the woman can't reach the counseling session before him. She dragged him to the first one. After that, he is the one who is hungering because a lot of ignorance out there. And as you talk about pride, put ego beside it. So me know me think, look how long there, what person can tell you now about how to live. And when you ask him two questions in turn full, and then him sit down and him start to listen. So maybe if they stay together for so long, maybe with the right kind of help. Because I mean, there are so many marriages that have been on the rocks. I mean rock bottom. And today you would not believe that those two people have gone through that journey because the right help has come. But the beautiful thing about marriage is that when we see it through God's eyes and understands God's intent, half of the problems vanish. Because, on Father's Day, the message I preached was entitled, Man, let God hear your prayer. For the text tells me that the man must treat the woman right, just putting it in my own words, so that his prayer may be answered. If him not do what him doing properly, God will not hear his prayer, will not answer his prayer. You see, so we pray that she will wise up and wake him up. Hey, there's a man who spoke to my wife and myself early in our marriage, and he said that a lady came to him complaining about challenges in her marriage, and he was totally confused as to what to say to her. And he said, why, he don't know what happened, but him just hear himself saying to her, you know what you do? When you go home, give. And all when you don't want to give, just give. And he said a few days later, he saw her. She come all excited. Pastor, it worked. He might be himself. Well, I took it to heart. And some years later, I met a woman in a similar situation. I didn't have to think what to tell her. I just gave her the same remedy. And man, she came back to me rejoicing.
Yes, it has been, you know, known that it is good for headache and all the stress and all that for you.
Eh? No, man. A lot of it, you see, ultimately, the thing about sex is that that's what we all aim at in relationship. And it is something that ought to be shared freely and generously.
Let me stop you there, Pastor. It should be shared freely and generously, you know, but let me tell you something. Those things not enjoyable when the bill's not paid and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you know. I don't know about other people, you know, but if things not right in the house and your house not in order, that thing cannot be in order. I don't know about other people, you know, but
Understood. You're quite correct. Because once there are issues of
there's
that
no
nature,
way. Bills
it's
should be paid
very,
and you're there. Yes, what? Go pay the bills.
but there are those underlying factors that need to be addressed. And who knows if after that matter is addressed, the bill isn't paid faster than ever before after that each time.
No, Pastor, the tail can't
So
walk the
no,
dog. The
the
tail
point I'm making,
cannot walk the dog, Pastor. Things must be
huh?
done. Things must be done for things to be done.
Well, I will say though that while I understand your concern, the guidance is sex must not be used as a bargaining tool. It must not be used for punishment. It must not be used to control your partner. You know, in things like those. For after all, it does more harm than good.
19 past. It's
Kind of,
2020, Pastor.
huh?
It's 2020, Pastor.
2020, what?
No, Jesus stopped walk this earth long time, Pastor.
I missed that. Say that again.
And the Lord is no longer walking on this earth, and nobody is like that anymore.
Like what?
What should I just give it away so and nothing in return? Come on, Pastor.
No. Hold on. You.
No,
It is not. It's not
Shanika,
bad.
you can't look at it like that, Shanika. Because
So,
if you are
so
in
hold
your
on, listen. Are you saying to me that you're one of those women back in the days that when the young man not behaving, you're sharing dinner first or all
no,
of this?
that's not what I'm saying. But I mean, if you're married to somebody and you have disagreements in your household, I don't think that should be a reason for you to not want to give him. I
So
don't think
Stacy,
that
No,
should be a
she'll have
reason.
a difficulty.
hold on, sis, let me look on your face.
She'll have the difficulty.
Hold on,
I
Stacy.
make allowance. I make allowance for the difficulty.
Stacy, hold on, Pastor. Mrs. Stacy, look in the
Eh?
camera. You
I'm
see,
looking in the camera.
between you, Jesus, and him, you still give it up, Stacy, when you're vexed?
There are some times when I don't, but I don't believe
Now
that.
you're talking.
No, it happens because I mean, for me, women are emotional beings. I'm not sure about the men, but I know that women
They are emotional too.
they're emotional too. But I guess Anna, less.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a different
They
thing.
hide it.
And sex
So
means
I'm
They
different
try
saying
things.
to hide
women
it,
are
yeah.
emotional beings, and for me, I'm going to be honest. Sex is uncomfortable when I am trying to get to a point with you and you are not understanding. It's
Right.
like I am just laying myself there for you to enjoy yourself, yet there's this issue. Yes, I understand that. But if this is going to become a continuous thing in your marriage, then that is going to be an issue in your marriage. And that is going to only add to the issues that you're having before.
I
May
think
I
so.
say something? May I say something?
Yeah.
Sure.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Stacia.
Sex is very important in
Very.
the marriage for both the man and the woman.
Thank
Now,
you.
I was sharing earlier on that I have had the experience of marriage for 18 years now.
Right.
And I'm gonna share with you that initially at the very early stage in my marriage, I wanted to change my husband to suit my expectation. And that was an uphill task, right? And the lesson that I learned is never try to change your husband. Let
Anybody.
your husband change himself. And what you can change is yourself, your
Exactly.
action, your behavior.
Exactly.
So what you're to do is to focus on changing yourself. So if you want your husband to, say for example, pay the bill, this is a lesson that I've learned. And I have to talk to my husband about paying a bill. Now, I think Rev mentioned earlier on that every woman has a Delilah in her. You have to know when to use that Delilah skill.
Man,
And I can tell you, when you use that
powerful.
Delilah skill, that turn the situation in your favor. So what women must learn to do is to know how, when, and where to turn on the charm of Delilah, right? And that guy will run to your rescue. No
Flying
questions
back a
asked.
tree. Minute say so?
Yes, right? So focus on, look at what it is that you can change and focus on that change. And at the same time, use your Delilah skills. Know how, when, and where, according to grandma.
You
That
see,
makes sense.
what sex is, it is the highest, greatest, deepest, most precious, most powerful expression of love. There's
Amen.
no expression of love that can be compared to it. Now, it is oftentimes misused, well, misunderstood in the first place, misused and abused. But my point about, it being freely shared is because it is the ultimate expression of love. And with lock shop to punish, lock shop to control, lock shop to spite, it does more harm than good.
It
And
does.
it is proven that kind of sharing when possible, because when you're hurting, when you're frustrated, when you're disappointed, when you're sad, whatever,
Good. The shop
really,
cannot serve good
you know,
things.
it's gonna be difficult to really give yourself like that. But there's a place, for being open and willing and ready to share. And the results, usually um, turn out to be good. mm? If
True.
the man understands that, hey, um, she is worthy of my honor. mm? While I desire her body, um, for my own sexual needs and satisfaction and fulfillment, she deserves my honor. But let me hasten to say this before somebody else speaks. There's a gentleman who wrote a book, Chap's Close, Rose 5 a.m. But there's a gentleman, Gary Chapman, who wrote a book, The Five Love Languages. And one of the problems that affect marriages is that persons do not understand and therefore do not learn to speak their partner's love language. For love means different things to us. The love languages that he identified are quality time, words of affirmation, physical touch, acts of service, and receiving gifts. They are not listed in order of importance here. But I like to pick up the one called acts of service because ever so often it's easy for a partner to say to another, you think me a servant you look too much servant, you look too much servant, or you treat me like me a servant. And yet, when the person isn't served, doesn't receive acts of service, no matter what else you give, the person doesn't feel loved because that is what really makes them feel loved. That's why I said, we have to study. We can't, we go into relationships and we go into marriage. And if we don't take time out to study so many things, and thank God, I, you just take a phone and just say successful marriage. You don't have to press a button, and up comes a whole lot of helpful information about how to make a marriage successful. So study, friends. If you don't do anything else, study. I don't know why people will spend years and time and money and energy and sacrifice to study to get a qualification for a job, get qualified for a job, and don't understand that for something as important as a healthy relationship, they need to take time out to study also. Yeah, man, you have to study. All right.
Yes,
Can
and
I ask a question?
yes.
Bless the Lord, everyone.
Hello,
Bless
bless
the
the
Lord
Lord.
and bless you too.
I was married.
Mhm.
Some people can make, and some people on the line can make a note of that. I was married for 16 years.
16.
But the
Yeah.
problem I have in my marriage was it was not like my husband and I was having a problem. It was a family issue. Like when the Bible says you must cling to your wife, that man never cling to his wife at all. He cling to family. That's what break up my marriage. And the
Mm-hmm.
next thing about it again, when you're married, sometimes the church have a lot to do. Church, Sister Solly, don't go there. Pastor, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. What I want to ask
Not the
as a
things
pastor,
when
what I want to ask as a pastor,
Mm-hmm.
what when you're married and you said cling to your wife. What is the symptom of cling to your wife when you know that you're married to the husband and if you say you cook rice and peas game, mommy come ask to say where you cook rice and peas game for?
What's the
What
question
should
again?
be the question I'm asking? Could
Uh-huh.
you explain to because me know me gonna get married again. So I want to will you explain that to me more? When you said cling to your wife.
Go ahead with the question again. You didn't get it. So she's saying that she had an experience where
The
the
mother-in-law,
family, yes, is in the
left home
marriage,
fast.
even though the Bible said that you should cling to your wife.
Mm-hmm. Um, well, the first rule, one important rule of marriage is when you marry, you go as far from your father-in-law as possible. From your in-laws. When you get married, you go as far from in-laws as possible.
Agree with that.
Because in-laws have a way of interfering. Mm? Most times they don't mean any harm. I tell people in-laws are good people, but most times they don't mean any harm, but they make a mess of things. And so you have to go as far from in-laws as possible. The second thing is the person who is married, as you said, needs to understand who takes priority. Your partner now takes priority, not your relatives. So it's unfortunate, you know, that that husband didn't quite get it, and would have allowed the interference. I don't know how you dealt with it. For the counsel is, as in-law, you don't confront your in-laws. Let your husband, let your partner confront your in-law and deal with them. Because guess what they're going to say? It's all right, you put stranger above we, but blood thicker and water left you to time.
Same
But if
for
you
Godfrey.
confront them, then tell us a blood thicker and water, and if you know what good for you, keep quiet, or else they make you run out of the so and all of that. So your partner dealing with his or her relatives is the best approach. But certainly it's unfortunate that, you know, a husband doesn't understand what it means to honor his wife. Because it's a matter of honoring you by putting her above. No matter how the mother go and say, you can get 100 wives, but only one mother. That doesn't matter. He must put his wife above his mother.
Denise has her hand up, yes.
Oh, good evening, everybody. Yes,
Good
I did raise
evening.
my hand. Thank you for acknowledging me. The person who just spoke, I didn't get your name, but I wanted to share something because I'm listening to everything that everybody is saying.
I'm what,
And
Godfrey
I'm
Francis,
wondering,
you're talking?
no, the young lady that spoke before you, Pastor.
Okay.
Marsha.
Oh, Marsha. As a person, I think the experience I had wasn't exactly the same, but it was similar. I had planned my wedding and have everything sorted out, and the family came and just was a problem for me. And one of the things I learned was that you have to recognize voices that are divisive. I find that men are not necessarily good at that. Especially, you have to really look at the family and their connection and everything to know if you really want to, be involved with this person, because you're not only marrying them, you're marrying their family too. And if you don't get along with their family, it's gonna be a problem. So you have to recognize that voice. And the thing about it is that these things will happen. They always happen. But the approach that you have to take is that you have to know, listen to it. This is what I've found, and it's not long ago I found it out. I was just, because we are all, well, most people, I assume, this is an assumption, are Christians, and that we need to examine the scripture and really look in it for the answers to the questions that we are asking, because we are talking off of mere how we feel about it. Well, our opinions, but what does the Bible say? What are the principles for marriage? Do you qualify for marriage? Are you ready for marriage? Can you sustain a marriage? What do you do with in-laws? What do you do with people, like those? And you have to really dedicate yourself to prayer and listening to the voice of God when you come on to marriage. I didn't know what I was doing, and I spoke to no one. I tend to be very secretive and minding my own business when it comes down to relationships. I didn't want to share anything with anyone. I didn't ask any questions, and I loved the person, but sometimes that's not enough. And I find that people, friends, family, they come, they say things, and the words have power. You have to know now that you're going to lock out some of the people them out of your relationship by putting them to prayer, knowing that when the mother-in-law come over, she's coming now to override what I am doing in my home, and then you need to speak to your husband. Let him know that I am married to you. You need to stand up for me. You can let him know, communicate that to him. But you know, it is rough, I know, but these things we have to learn and move on. So that's it.
And
Miss Denise,
sometimes
may I add something to what Miss Denise said? Just to give a personal experience, I've had an experience similar to that where a mother-in-law is concerned. She said something more than one time to me that I found it to be very offensive. And for a couple of times, I didn't say anything. I kept it. But when I realized that it's something that is happening and happening, I spoke to my husband about it. I saw the fear in his eyes. He was afraid to talk to her, to say to her that mommy XYZ or whatever, because his response was he's afraid of saying something and then she might react a certain way. And then I spoke to him. Remember, I'm young in this marriage thing, young, fresh. You understand? But I use some of the things that I learned at college because I learned a lot of things where behaviors are concerned and stuff like that. So I said to him, that at some point in your life, you are going to have to let her know when she has to stay out and when she can say something. You have to deal with it because at the end of the day, your wife is now your number one priority. This is your new norm, right? It's not like when you was living with mommy. This is your new norm now. This is what you have to adjust yourself to. And we spoke about it and we said, guess what? You went have to talk to her and I don't want to be the one to say something to her. I think that is your duty. You are the one who needs to stand up for your wife. If you say that then that is a big problem. And we spoke about it and we were back and forth. He was really afraid. And I too was afraid because I didn't want to drive a wedge between him and his mother. But at the end of the day, there are boundaries. He needs to understand that and she needs to understand that. And he is the person who is best to do that. Right? So some of the times these men, they need to know when to stand up for their wife. If you fail to stand up for your wife, then something is wrong. Something wrong. If every time your mother does something and you cannot stand up for your wife, something is wrong. Your marriage is not going to progress. So at the end of the day, the problem is not really with you, but what I try to do is to talk to my husband. I sit and I talk to him and I try to help him because I realize that he's fearful of the situation. So I try to help him through it. So that's my take.
I'm getting
on this mother-in-law.
Oh, you get me there. Oh.
Oh, Rev, come back.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening with my instrument. It's just saying connecting. But my son, who just celebrated 1 year of marriage, day before yesterday, he had joined in, so he comes to my rescue.
Okay, lovely.
So he's learning from you ladies. In some fear and trembling too. All right, let's see.
Some men really don't understand the whole aspect of leaving and cleaving because they weren't taught, they did not see it happening in their surroundings. So it truly has become an issue, and I heard more than one person, a lot of persons, a whole heap of persons complain about it. And it is a serious situation that I think also that if most, as we say, most of the persons here are Christian, I think also it should become a responsibility of the church to place emphasis on that aspect of persons' lives. I think they should take the parents of these young men and counsel them also to let them know not to interfere into the marriage of their sons.
The point is that there's always that need for intervention, for help as you journey along. After 30 odd years of marriage, I might still need to say to somebody, come and sit and talk with us and help us to deal with, this issue or this challenge, that issue or that challenge. It's an ongoing thing like that.
I agree
you know.
with you, Rev. I mean, interfering without asking or being asked too.
No, you see, let me tell you something. People are people. And you may talk like this today until your child gets married. Eh? They always have stories about mother-in-laws. And I don't know why, after all of these stories about mother-in-laws and jokes and all of that, why certain things continue to happen in people's experience. Because there are certain things that are commonly understood, you know, and therefore people getting into marriage should very well, you know, go in with that kind of consciousness and seek to head off. Because as I said, what counseling does, it doesn't guarantee success of a marriage, but it prepares persons to head off some of the surprises that can come and that do come, you know.
But Rev,
So
my question is, Doreen, if we're preparing persons for a marriage, right? And we are expecting that the parents are at some point going to be intervening. Why are we only counseling these persons who are going to get married? Why not take the parents of the persons who are going to get married and help them to understand? Because I think that the reason why some of these mother-in-law incidents happen is because they are not knowledgeable of the fact, or some of them can be spiteful, but some of them are not knowledgeable of the fact that some of the things that are uttered from their mouths can be very offensive to the wives.
and
I
some of
think
them
that
want,
it should be a duty to educate them and help them to understand that there are boundaries and that
and
certain
some of
lines
them
are not
want,
crossed.
some of them want to offend the daughter-in-law.
That's what I was saying. Some of them want to be spiteful, but
Some of them,
give them the benefit of the doubt. What about those who really and genuinely don't know what they are doing? How are we working as a church or as a people then to educate them and to help them so that these marriages, we don't have a failed marriage because of the in-laws?
Me know, mommy, me know.
Stacy, can I
Yes,
add something to that?
sure.
can
It
you
all
let me
goes
back
back
in,
to
Samantha? Please?
it
Yes,
all
you're
goes
in.
back to being mature and building and working on yourself before you go into the marriage. No, if you start this marriage as a young, weak person who is easily offended, easily shaken, the mothers they test you, you know, they want to see what you're about, you know, they see how, you know, how malleable you are, how what it takes to break you. If you enter a marriage, and profession for me, guys, don't think it's everything, but take a young girl just leaving high school, the community college. Mommy will have a field, mother-in-law will have a field day with her because she feel like she don't know nothing. Think of a lady who has been around the block, done this, done that. I mean, she's gonna think twice about approaching that lady. She's she's gonna think twice about coming to that person with some, and you don't even have to have it professionally, but speak with authority. I understand and I believe that prayer work. I am a Christian, I believe in God, but me believe faith without work is dead.
That is
You
true.
pray about the situation, but you also go there and stand in your authority. God no want a puny soldier anyway. If you go in a church, go, dear God, when you talk about in the same way you fight for your knee, go up there, go say, excuse me, ma'am, this is my kitchen here in my house. You cook what I eat or you leave. When I come to your house, I accept what you're cooking.
But it's best for the husband to have that conversation.
No. It's best for him, but guess what? I'm not driving a wedge between my husband and his mother. I'm not going to put him in that position. I say, honey, you know, I don't like how your mommy talked to me the other day. Yeah, so she stay. Okay, so she stay to you. She not going to stay so to me. When the next time he happen, me say, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. Respectfully. No,
I
ma'am.
mean, you can do that respectfully. I agree with you, Shanika. You can do that respectfully, but when it reaches to a certain point, you know that your husband have to stand firm. Because until the husband stand firm, then his mother goes to say, but wait, Me say,
Well
leave
done.
the back in wife, so make me back off. Because
That's
if
true.
you
But
keep on and say, you are going to do this, whatever, and then the husband now talk with her, that simply means the mother go feel the husband there on her
but
side,
but
So that's
also
a problem again.
sometimes the poor lady not even know say she offend you. Because I can use my husband as an example. Romaine would say, but did you tell her that? I'm going to tell Romaine about a situation that happened last week. Romaine, you know that last week your mother said something that wasn't nice. She said, so him said, what did you say to her? I didn't say anything, but Candy, you didn't say anything. So what am I supposed to do about it now?
But
Go
some
back
of the
and tell her
That's
time,
that.
what he said. Well, I mean, it's complex. It's complex,
it is.
and sometimes the wife can, or his wife, because sometimes it's the wife's mother who gives problem. So
It
sometimes the
all depends on who
individual,
you're dealing with for sure.
Right,
sometimes
because
the
sometimes they're not
individual,
approachable, so you have to
Yes.
be
sometimes the
careful.
individual can speak to the in-law. Sometimes the individual can speak to the in-law, depending on the kind of person, because the person who is making a genuine mistake and is open to learning can appreciate and welcome you know their in-law saying, I felt bad about this, or I was offended, or whatever. But ideally, you know the 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 a person must be the one to address their relatives when they fall out of line. Mm.
And I
But
think
the
that
counseling thing, as you were asking earlier, I forgot your name, Hanson. The counseling thing, we don't usually counsel the parents as such, um, but we give, or the in-laws, but we give guidelines. We bring to the awareness of the couple the kind of challenges that can be faced with in-laws and how best to deal with it, you know. But as I keep saying, always, there's room for intervention. There's room for saying to somebody, we need your help in this respect. Maybe a direct word to the person creating the problem um, is not the best, but a relative who has influence, who that person will listen to. If that person is asked to help, then that is where the breakthrough is likely to come, you know. But one of the things about in-laws is this, that the person who gives problems has a problem. And the thing we need to do is seek to find out what exactly is the problem. Can I tell you that the person who is happiest that you're getting married to their relative is the person who might give you the biggest problem because of jealousy, because of grief, because they feel like they lose the person or they are losing the person, because of, you know, so many factors. And the problem plays itself out in different ways. The person who gives problems has a problem. With me?
I've heard that before. Carrie, on your hand is up.
Hello, good night.
Good
Good night.
night.
All right, as it relates to persons, as you were talking about the parents that are being mischievous to the wife or to the husband. First, I believe that the husband, he's the person that is supposed to address his parent or his mother who is causing the issue. Now, two, we have to look on it that as Christians, we have to take it from this point of view that many persons do things and they don't even understand because they only do things in the way that they understand it from. So growing up, that's how they saw their parents behave. So they think it is a norm. So they will continue the same trend without somebody saying to them or coming to them and say, all right, I think what you're doing is wrong. And we can see it at a different point. Now, as Christians or as leaders in the church, these are some of the things that we need to speak about in order to let other persons understand, because we know that the older school persons will only understand things in the older school, not in the now or not in this era. So it is best that we try to understand the person that we might think that these persons are Goliaths in our life, but really they're not Goliaths because they only do things because of how they understand it.
Sometimes it's like that, and
Perfect,
sometimes
perfectly said.
they have motives. But what is crucial, again, it when we talk about communication, we talk about using iMessages, which rather than say what you said was wrong, or what you did was wrong, and you shouldn't have done that. If one should say, you know, I felt hurt or I felt embarrassed when that was said or when that was done, it minimizes the risk of a person becoming defensive. You know, who you if you can't tell me say me wrong, you know, it minimizes that risk, but it invites the person to enter into your own feeling and experience. Yeah, so one might recognizing and appreciating what you're saying, say sorry, I was only joking, or I didn't realize that it would hurt you, you know, and the relationship becomes strengthened, because ultimately what you want is healthy relationship with your spouse and healthy relationship with your in-laws. Hmm? and not all the time. Well, we just have to use the best methods we know. We have to try. We just have to keep trying. Because we either are going to try to make peace, because we are still challenged to love our enemies and bless them that curse us and do good to them that hurt us. You know, we still faced with that challenge. So the point is this: the things that will that holds the greatest promise for success are the things to hold on to. And the things that have the greatest potential to make a bad situation worse is best to avoid. But you know, some people, as long as we live, we'll never reach them or get through to them or get them to appreciate how things affect us. That's all also a part of the game, you know.
So Rev, in saying all of this, Rev, with the whole question that is asked that stems all of this discussion is, in the process of getting to know each other, it is good to say go on a date with the parents then, so we can actually see what they're about or get to understand how they operate, how they feel about their son or daughter. Is it would you encourage that to be a part of the whole courtship thing before getting married?
I missed the last part of what you said there.
I was saying, would you encourage persons who are courting or who want to get married to probably go on dates with the parents, go out with the parents then, or probably just probably just find some way to spend some time with the parents of the persons who they are going to get married to? Would you encourage that to be a part of the process of getting ready for marriage?
Um, a good question. What happens is that most times when people are getting married or planning to get married is very close to the time of the wedding that they get the pastor involved. You know, um, very. It's a wonderful thing when you have 2 months or 3 months notice. Sometimes you only have 2 or 3 weeks notice. You know, um, but you would trust that they would have had some kind of interaction with their in-laws so that they have some kind of knowledge and understanding. But people are people, and like I said, sometimes your most supportive person, your most supportive in-law, when you were to get married, becomes the thorn in your flesh. Huh? Sometimes is your bridesmaid and your best man turn against you? Because whatever issue they have after you get married, first they're excited about it, but then after you get married, something changes in their lives. And so they start to behave different. The same change that they were looking forward to is the change that they can't handle. And this is sometimes what we are up against. You know, sometimes an in-law, because you are no family, them think they can talk to you and deal with you just like how they would deal with their siblings or their other relatives, not recognizing that even though you are no family, you are from a totally different background, and your way of doing things, your way of understanding things is not the same as theirs. So it's really a, a situation that calls for much patience and much wisdom. And that is why we just help persons to understand some kinds of things to expect when it comes to in-laws, especially as we say when in-laws become outlaws, and try to help them to be prepared to deal with such things. And again, I say always, there is room for intervention. Don't be afraid to seek help from some person or persons who you think can make a difference and help to, get the breakthrough.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. And there has been so much. And I think our questions have been answered tonight. And as we are getting ready to close, we just want to thank everyone for joining in, thank everyone for participating. And understand that it was mentioned before that right now knowledge is at our fingertip, and we want to try to learn as much as we can study, so that we'll be able to build ourselves. And as I said before, that for Wisdom Wednesday Live, this is what we try to do. We are thriving to be and to become a better version of ourselves every day, because we can't change people. And a lot of times we recognize that because we have expectations of people, when it is not met, we are hurt. So we want to adjust that. We want to adjust our mindset, so that we alter how things affect us. And it has been said that hurt people hurt people. And people who have problem give problem. So we want to fix our individual problems so that we don't be a problem to somebody else. And for persons who are looking to get married, understand, try to learn yourself. Persons who are already married, 5 love language was mentioned, and that is very important. I think every single individual should get to know what their love languages are. How do you receive love? Because when you know that, it helps you so much. So, because a lot of times your husband wants to touch you when that is not what you prefer. That's not how you receive love. And he wants something else, and that's not how we receive love. So when we both as an individual understand how we receive love, communicate that, and we know what we want, then it makes it better. For persons who are thinking to get married, it's the same thing. You want to study and know yourself, know what you like, so that you know exactly what you're bringing to the table, and you don't enter and then after it's going to be a big surprise where you're going to say, oh, that's not what I wanted, when it wasn't discussed. And another thing that was mentioned that I thought was powerful is the 3 types of marriages: the back door, and the successful, and the grin and bear. So we understand that it's not perfect. 2 persons coming together from different walks of life, it's not easy. But even for myself, I had to develop that in my mind to say, okay, early in my marriage, I never used to really talk and express what I wanted. If something went wrong, I just shut down and I don't say anything. And
That's not Delilah's way of doing it.
I realized that that cannot work. I have to say what is the problem, because on the other hand, my husband can't read my mind, and he used to say it, and the more he say it, it upsets me, because me like, okay, what you mean you can try something, figure out something, but then you realize, but I'm not saying what I want. So I had to change my mind and know that I have to understand what I want, so that I'll be able to communicate that to him. So, and to guide him as to what I need from him, so that he can give me. And once I figure that out, I start practicing that, things become much, much easier. There are times when things would fall a little bit off, and then you can say, okay, remember, this is what I desire, this is what we have talked about, and get back on track. So it is most important to know what we want, know who we are, and what we desire as an individual. So thank you very much for
But I just
joining
say
in.
one thing.
Sure.
Just one thing before you close. I cannot overemphasize the importance of politeness. It is so easy for us to be impolite to the person that we love the most. And politeness is crucial, because it is as we seek to be polite that we are going to be courteous. Even when we are upset and angry, we still need to remember courtesy, politeness. Excuse me, please, thank you, good morning, good evening, whatever makes for courtesy. When we maintain politeness, what happens is that it is almost impossible, if not totally impossible, for us to say harsh and unkind things to each other. And remember, the person who first runs out of good words will be the first one to use bad words. And the person who first runs out of words will be the first one to throw a blow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shanika, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to pass on everybody before we go. I'm not like this in real life. I took on this persona just to foster discussion. Okay, Pastor. So, but pray for me while I pray for myself, because I still need a
I'm
little.
proud of you, man. You really added a kind of energy to the thing.
I still
but it's good to know that you know, you're really provoking us to really explore the thing. Thank you for that.
Even in the classroom, I do not like when people pretend everything is perfect. So I always have to push that point. And Samantha, I really want to commend you on this. I mean, it's COVID time, more as though we could be doing so many other things, but this is awesome. This is really good. And it was awesome to just sit here and it's like a PD session. The more you learn, because I'm going back now, and I'm actually outside to get away from my kid. I'm sitting in the car, but when I go back inside, I'm going to be a good wife. So thank you for that.
Glory. Oh my God, Candy, I tell you, Shanika, you're so awesome. Thanks again. I just want to remind and to welcome the persons that I've been seeing for the first time. Let you know that this is a ministry. It's Midnight Warrior Ministry. It's on Facebook. So you can go over to Facebook for the persons who are on Facebook and like that page, so you'll get all the notifications. For the week, I do have activities on Monday. I send out prophetic prayer on WhatsApp. That number is 876-401-7263. Also, I have been offered a slot on Called Out Gospel Radio, where I do prophetic prayer. It started for Tuesday, but no, persons have been really blessed by it, and the host wanted to go for the entire week. So she has a program, like a helpline program, and after that they do the prayer. But I do need sponsor for that. So as small as a dollar, as $100. If you can pledge that $100, it would be nice to do so, because I really need it. It costs about $40 thereabout. So I really need that kind of a support. So for persons who are here, you can reach out to me and let me know if you are willing to pledge monthly to offset that. On Wednesday, we have Wisdom Wednesday Live. It started from just a recorded video to empower persons. And 1 week during the pandemic, you say, you know, we could meet and face to face and talk and encourage, and persons really love it. So it has gone from that. So we look at different topics each week to build us. And so for persons, I want you to know that you can join in for that. So like the page on Facebook so you will know. And if you need to speak with me, you can message me on WhatsApp at 876-401-7263. Also, there's an inbox on the page tool that you can do. So on Thursday night, I do prophetic prayer service at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we go live with prayer and worship and the whole package. So you can get that too on a Thursday night. So thank you very much for being here. See you next week. Good topic discussion. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you again. I really appreciate it. And see you next week. It's going to be interesting again, okay? Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Stacy. Thanks, Shanika. Thanks, Rev. Thanks, everyone that has joined in again. Heaven bless you. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your love. We thank you for your grace and your mercies that has kept us. We thank you, Lord God, that you are God. We thank you that us as individuals that we can gather here. Lord Jesus, so as our faces differ, so our needs. You know every single one of us. And Lord God Almighty, I speak life over your people right now in the name of Jesus. We declare and decree that we will be well in our mind, in our spirit, and in our body in Jesus' name. God Almighty, thank you. And we declare that we will be victorious. We declare that we will prosper as our soul prosper. Rest upon us tonight. Breathe upon us, God. Give us peace in our home and peace even in the midst of the storm. Be with us now and forever. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Good night, and have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.
God bless you. It has been a pleasure. Take best care.
Okay, thanks again.
Good.